If you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Okay guys, I'm back and it is Friday, February 15th and it's 5:23 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're going to be looking at the Q post from yesterday, February 14th, and we're going to be doing something a little bit different because I'm going to start the post from the Q board itself. Let me see here, because it's just easier with the pictures because we can get a larger graphic and so forth. Then I'll go back to my notes. All right, so this is what we're going to do going forward. I'm not sure if I can cover this all in one video or if it will take two to cover the 14th. And Q has also been posting today, so we have today's post to cover as well. Now, I apologize for not posting yesterday, and I also apologize that I have wet hair. This is the only time during the day that I ever have straight hair, so I like to enjoy it. I like to soak it in and just enjoy having straight hair for the few minutes that I do until it dries. So, you know the drill. Don't scare the hair. All right, and yesterday I meant to post, but I had a friend come over. She was the friend that actually rescued the sister cat to my little kitten, my black kitten, and so she came over. They had a little play date, the two cats, but while she was here there was a medical emergency, so that is why I did not post yesterday. And I will just let you know that if there's blood involved, I am the worst, absolute worst person you want around. So you know, in an emergency and blood's involved, you don't want me around. Trust me, you don't. Okay, so anyway, let's get right into the Q posts. Okay, so this is the first one from February the 14th, and it is a series of 3, I believe. Oops, I lost my place. I keep doing that. It is so easy to lose your place on this board because there is like zillions of posts. And just one slight movement and you're several days off the post. So let me get caught back up here. I don't know. I guess I could tell a joke while I'm waiting for this to scroll, but no, I'm not gonna. All right. We're almost there. No, really, we are. Seriously, here we are. Yeah, three pictures here, and we're going to look at those in detail. Actually, there's 2 pictures here. So let's go to the actual Q board where these posts are taken from, Q Research, and we will look this up. I'm sure many of you have probably caught up with other YouTubers that cover Q, so you probably have a good idea what's going on here and the purpose of these, but let me cover them quickly for those of you that do not know. Let me see here. I think this is the first one. Takes a while for this to pop up. All right, here we are. This is the first one. And many people believe, as I do, that this was Dianne Feinstein. And it is taken in China. All of the shops have Chinese writing. And while you know, that doesn't necessarily mean anything because there's lots of places in the US and even Canada that have Chinatowns. This is actually taken in China, as we find out a bit later. Also, when you hone in on this figure right here and enlarge it, it becomes suspiciously, it looks suspiciously like Senator Hirono from Hawaii. So, don't know. Could be Dianne Feinstein, could be Senator Hirono, which I happen to believe it is. I happen to believe it's Hirono. But I think time will tell. Future will prove past, as always. So let's look at the next one here on this and take a look at that. And let me see. Here it is here. And this is an airport, presumably in Beijing, but I'm not 100% sure, but it's definitely, well, I would assume it's an airport. Perhaps it's not. But, well, it could be. I don't know. Let's just say that. I don't know what it is, but I presume it's in China, as all the rest were taken in China. And underneath this, Q says sequence register, location active. Now, we're going to come back to what all this means because, well, some of this we're not going to know exactly what it means because it's really not meant for us, as we will find out in a bit. So let's go back to the board. That was the first set of pictures, 2 pictures, and over here we've got more. So let's go back over to the Q research board to see them so that we can see the big graphic. And we have to wait just a second because it does take a little bit for it to load. All right, so we're looking at this one. So let's just take these in sequence. And beneath this, it says sequence complete. Target, and S in brackets, targets known. Track 7B to DS Q. So let's take a look at these a little bigger. Again, it's the same picture, it's just a little bit closer. And again, not exactly sure where this is taken other than China. I would assume Beijing, and I'll tell you why I would assume that earlier. It looks like it's been taken out of the window of an airplane. This picture makes it look as if it's being taken out of the window of an airplane. So I would assume that they are either landing or taking off, and I would assume landing. But again, we can't always assume that we know what is going on, but it's definitely looks like it's being taken out of an airplane window because you can see right here, and obviously they're at, they're obviously in the air or high up in a building, but most buildings do not have windows like that. Airplanes do. All right, so let's look at the other 2. And that is the one we just looked at. And here is the second one, a little closer still. Looks like this person is actually going this way, and it's being taken out of a moving airplane. That is what I would assume. So I would assume this is definitely an airport, and this person is taking, because this one looks a little bit closer to the ground, so I believe that they are probably coming in for a landing. That is what I would surmise anyway. Now let's look at the third one and give it a boo. And this is the third one, and this one looks even further away. So again, don't know if they're landing or taking off, but I would bet anything that it's being taken in an airplane. And again, Q says underneath, sequence complete, targets known, track 7B to DS Q. Now I wonder if 7B to DS, I wonder if that is deep state. Don't know, probably not, but who knows? Let's go back. So these are the pictures that he has provided so far, and let's go up to this. These are the next pictures that are being provided, and he references the 3 actually that we just looked at, and then beneath, sorry, this board gets hard to navigate at times. Okay, let me see here. Okay, we looked at that, and then we looked at the 3, and we're going up here. This will move quite a lot quicker once we get back to my notes. It's just looking at these pictures. I want to be sure that we get them large enough so that you can see what's going on, especially for some of you guys that are on your phones. Okay, so Q references the pictures above, the 3 that we just looked at, and adds 2 more below. So he references this one and adds these. So we are going to take a look at this. And we're going to make it bigger still. So this is in Beijing, and it's showing about 20 minutes, well, a little, probably 15, 16, 17, 18 minutes to 7. And it is definitely in Beijing, and we will see that, confirmed later. But that is definitely Beijing. Let's go back and look at the next one he's given us to look at, and it's this. And this is the same area, of course, where the other picture was taken that I said could be Feinstein or could be Hirono. And this is the same area, same street. Now, who is being tracked in this picture? I don't know. Here is a person that looks very similar to the person that was getting out of the car, but they look a little bit thinner than either Hirono or Feinstein. And, because it's in Beijing, it's hard to tell because both Hirono and Feinstein have dark hair. And of course, a lot of people in China have dark hair. So it's hard to tell. But we know it may not be just one target because it said targets. So, all right, there we go. And let's go back. And beneath that, Q says RT, night crawl active, 3 in kill brackets, Q. So how I would interpret this, and I'm not saying that this is the gospel truth, because a lot of this comes down to opinion until future proofs pass and we can tell for sure exactly what Q meant, because he lets us know in the future. And I fully expect that will happen. But for right now, I believe that what he's saying here is that there are 3 targets being tracked. They're tracking these 3 targets. And the 3 is in kill brackets. They've already told us that it's targets, plural. So that is what I assume that Q is telling us. But as we will find out, this really isn't meant for us at all. It's meant to notify these people, hey, we're watching. And we will have that confirmed a little bit later. Let's go on. And here is the next 2 pictures over here, the next post. And we're going to click on those, make those bigger so that we can see what this is all about. Obviously taken in somebody's car. And they're obviously, I'm not sure if this is a cab or not, but they are following a car that I could swear is a Mercedes, but maybe not. It's hard to tell because it's very blurry. Obviously the car is moving when this is being taken. So again, this all goes along with the fact that there are 3 people being surveyed, and whoever this person is that is surveying them has landed at the airport, tracked them, probably not on the same airplane, I wouldn't think, unless it is somebody that's undercover and they don't know what this person looks like. Could have been on the same airplane, don't know. But they're definitely being tracked. Let's go back and let's click on this. This is the next one. And again, very similar scene. I don't know if that's a Pepsi Cola sign, I'm not sure. But again, it looks very similar, very same street, and somewhere in China, which we will have confirmed in a bit. Let's go back. Now, down here, Q says, pull all views plus or minus 10. Scan P-P100Z. Narrow / plus wide. Q. Again, this is not meant for us. He is probably giving directions to a operative, and it's also meant to alert those people being surveyed or surveilled that they are the target. So, yeah, let's go on. When we get to a certain point here where the pictures are done, I will go back to my notes and make it easier for us all. All right, and here is the next one, a very interesting one. Okay, now let's take a look at this. And I know you're probably saying big, hairy deal. Well, what time is it there? It is 1 minute to 7. 1 minute to 7, this is the second hand. These are the main hands, and this is the second hand, because it's a little bit, I was a little bit confused when I looked at it as to what time it really was, but that is the case. This is definitely in Beijing. This tower, this clock tower is in Beijing. So this is in Beijing, and it's 1 minute to 7. Okay, Beijing is 13 hours ahead of us. So when it was 1 minute to 7, and obviously we have darkness, so that was 7 o'clock at night, not 7 o'clock in the morning. This was taken at 1 minute to 7 p.m. And what time was it here? What time was it Eastern time? Washington, D.C. time. What time was it there? Well, it was, interestingly enough, 1 minute to 6 a.m. 1 minute to 6 a.m. Remember that. All right, let's go back. And underneath, Q says the following: stop track. Register all data pulls to location. Stand by. Q. So, interesting, but we still don't know anything. We're still not any the wiser, right? And Q is going to explain to us that in the drops to come, that this was not meant for us. Now, I think we will have more information in the future, because future proves past, and we find this all the time with Q. So I do believe that we will be coming back to visit this at some point in the future, as we do almost everything. Every time I say, I'm not really sure what this means, but I bet you it's a future proves past. Sure enough, it's like, could be months, could be 6 months, could be a year. And Q will drop something that will take you back to an earlier post, and you go, oh, okay, that's what he was talking about. And mark my words, that will happen here. So I've got one more that I'm going to look at, then I'm going to go back to my notes. We're going to take a look at this one, February 14th, and Q posted the following. And please keep in mind that this clock reads 1 minute to 7, and that the Eastern Standard Time Zone, it would have been 1 minute to 6 a.m. All right, now let's go on for now. And we're going to look at this. Q is referencing a post from earlier, and we're going to take a look at this. I think it's easier to look at it on here, just because I can make it much bigger. Excuse me, I'm just going to take a sip so that I can quell this cough before it gets started. And of course, I'm drinking out of my lovely Q mug. All right. Now, I think most of us will remember this. In March 23rd, 2018, Q posted the following. Clock activated. Red castle, green castle. Stage 5-5. Yes, in kill brackets, Q. And, of course, this, Army Corps of Engineers, their logo is the red castle, and they are located, strangely enough, in Greencastle, Indiana. How strange is that? I think that's very interesting, personally, but not sure if they planned it that way or not. But anyway, red castle, green castle, that's what it means. The Army Corps of Engineers in Greencastle, Indiana. And their logo is U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, building strong. And underneath it says the following: you will not win, and that was Pelosi. You didn't think the largest military spending bill in history, fiscal year 2019, wasn't going to indirectly include funding for the wall, did you? Learn the Constitution regarding vested powers of POTUS regarding matters of national security. This was planned and forecasted as the border funding solution from the beginning. Now, he told us this, where? Back in March 23rd. And as we are going to see, he was talking about Red Castle before then. So, lots of really important things in these 2 days drops. So if you haven't caught, caught up with all the other drops, this is a really good one. This and today's drops, very, very good to get caught up on, and very good to maybe red pill the normies, because there's a lot of proof in these. So let's go down and finish this, because Q has referred to it, and I think that we should read it. Anons had the proof long ago, but shining a light back then would have defeated the primary purpose of showing the public the real objective of the Democratic Party of open borders and elimination of ICE, elimination of security, defend illegals over Americans, midterm election. These people are stupid. Q. And as we have surmised before, obviously, you know, he's had the solution the whole time. He's had the solution the whole time, and this was all just a movie, a play, because he wanted the public to have their eyes opened to the real agenda of the Democratic Party. And I think for the most part, it's worked wonderfully. So I know all of our eyes are open, wouldn't you say? I would say so. Now, so here we are, and this is, I'm going to go back to my notes now, because I think we are through with viewing the pictures for now. And here we go. Here. So now let's come up here. Oh, and also I wanted to let you know about the China thing, which I should have mentioned when we were looking at these pictures. There is a U.S. delegation in China to talk about the trade wars. So whether that is who they are surveying, I'm not sure, but let's just take a quick look at this, and then we'll move on to where I was. I just want us, oh, maybe it won't. I bet I didn't copy that entirely to get the whole. Okay, well, suffice it to know that there is a U.S. delegation in China talking about the trade wars right now. Okay, so anyway, whether that is what is happening here, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the people that are going to do the talking are being watched, and Q wants them to know they're being watched, so that it's like, okay, guys, no missteps here. We're watching. We got our eyes on. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And we will move on to this one we were just looking at. This one, and we looked at the bigger graphic here so that we could tell exactly what was being said, and I do that for you guys that are on your phones or tablets, because I know not everyone is on a computer or a laptop or TV. So I almost spilled that, and then I would have had a drinking problem. All right, okay. Now, underneath that, Q says, gives us this link to a article that we're going to go out and see. And he says, Anons knew last March. Do you believe in coincidences? Well, no, actually I don't. I do believe that there are coincidences in this world. Sure I do. But Q has told us that there are no coincidences when it comes to this stuff. They have planned and implemented everything with military precision. So no, I don't think that it's a coincidence. At what point is it mathematically impossible? Well, we were at that point a long time ago, and I'll tell you why. It's mathematically impossible that Q is not associated with POTUS. It's impossible. There have been so many proofs that I would literally say that there is no possibility that Q is not connected to POTUS. So, and I think that those of you that have been following this for a year would say, here, no way is all that a coincidence. So, yeah, and of course, hashtag winning bigly. I think I need to make a t-shirt that says winning bigly. I love that. Winning bigly. I love that word, bigly. That will be a word that's probably going to be entered into the dictionary at some point in the future, because I think that it's a word that Donald Trump made up and has now become very, very popular. A lot of people use it. Interesting. I mean, Shakespeare, what did he make up? Like 14,000 or something like that words? I mean, a lot of words he made up that ended up in the English language just because he made them up. So there you go. Anyway, let's go look at this link and see what Q is wanting us to see. Trump will sign border security bill, declare national emergency, White House says. Now, I know you guys all know this now because it's old news. I should have been reporting this yesterday, but I was too busy fainting from blood. Anyway, all right. The Senate on Thursday afternoon, this is going to start playing here, and let me get
Olay Ultra.
Drives me crazy, I tell you. All right. The Senate on Thursday afternoon approved a border security package to avert another government shutdown, as the White House said President Trump is preparing to take extraordinary steps of declaring a national emergency to obtain additional funding for his long-proposed wall on the U.S.-Mexican border. The bill passed 83-16. The border security compromise now heads to the House for a vote. On Thursday night, the House approved the proposal 300-128. And says, what is a national emergency and how can Trump use it to fund border wall? Before the Senate vote, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said the president would sign the compromise bill and would take executive action to unlock other federal dollars for the wall. President Trump will sign the government funding bill, and as he has stated before, he will also take other executive action, including a national emergency, to ensure we stop the national security and humanitarian crisis at the border, Sanders said in a statement. The president is once again delivering on his promise to build the wall, protect the border, and secure our great country. The president is expected to sign the bill at 10 a.m. Friday, Fox News has learned. Lawmakers have until 11:59 p.m. Friday to get the agreement through both House of Congress and signed by Trump before several cabinet-level departments shut down and hundreds of thousands of federal workers are furloughed in what would be the second partial government shutdown this year. Sanders told reporters at the White House there will be an announcement later about where the money will come from and how they allocate it. She said the White House is working on those details. Asked if they were afraid of legal challenges, Sarah said, "We are very prepared, but there shouldn't be. The president is doing his job and Congress should do theirs." Speaking on the Senate floor earlier, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said he supports Trump declaring a national emergency to fund the border wall, something the president has suggested for weeks he might do. But Democrats in Congress said they hoped Trump wouldn't declare an emergency. It's a terrible idea. Delaware Senator Chris Coons told Fox News, "We will all live to regret this one." I don't think so. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told reporters Democrats are reviewing our options. There are at least 30 national emergencies in effect in the United States as of this month, according to a tabulation prepared by the Congressional Research Service. The product of nearly 3 weeks of talks, the border security agreement would provide almost $1.4 billion for new barriers along the boundary. That's less than $1.6 billion for border security in a bipartisan Senate bill that Trump spurned months ago, and enough for building just 55 miles of barricades, not the 200 plus miles he'd sought. When asked Wednesday if they had an agreement that Trump would approve, Senate Appropriations Committee Chairman Richard Shelby told reporters, "We think so. We hope so." The president, though, has been non-committal about signing. "Well, we haven't gotten it yet," Trump told reporters at the White House on Wednesday. "We'll be getting it, and we'll be looking for landmines because you could have that." Trump's assent would end a raucous legislative saga that commenced before Christmas and appeared to approach its ending almost fittingly on Valentine's Day. The low point was the historically long 35-day partial federal shutdown, which Trump sparked and was in full force when Democrats took control of the House, compelling him to share power for the first time. Trump yielded on the shutdown January 25th after public opinion turned against him and congressional Republicans. He'd won not a nickel of the $5.7 billion he demanded for the wall, but had caused missed paychecks for legions of federal workers and contractors and lost government services for countless others. It was seen as a political fiasco for Trump and an early triumph for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The fight left both parties dead set against another shutdown. The sentiment weakened Trump's hand and fueled the bipartisan deal, a pact that has contrasted with the party's still raging differences over health care, taxes, and investigations of the president. Notably, the word wall, which fueled many a chant at Trump campaign events and then his rallies as president, does not appear once in the 1,768 pages of legislation and explanatory materials. Barriers and fencing are the nouns of choice. The compromise would also squeeze funding for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, in an attempt to pressure the agency to detain fewer immigrants gradually. To the dismay of Democrats, it would still leave an agency many of them consider abusive, holding thousands more immigrants than it did last year. The measure contains money for improved surveillance equipment, more custom agents, and humanitarian aid for detained immigrants. The overall bill also provides $330 billion to finance dozens of federal programs for the rest of the year, 1/4 of federal agency budgets. Trump has talked for weeks about augmenting the agreement by taking executive action to divert money from other programs for wall construction without congressional sign-off. Those moves could prompt congressional resistance or lawsuits, but would help assuage supporters dismayed that the president may be yielding. Now, this is written with a slight twist, as most of the mainstream articles are. Now, Fox is far better than the others, but still, some of their stories have that slight twist, and this one was no exception. But Q pointed it out, probably wanted us to look at it in full, and we did. So we're going back to the notes here and the other drops. So he's saying Anons knew last March that he was going to declare a national emergency, that there was already budget money in the fiscal year 2019, and that he was going to draw that through declaring a national emergency, and he was going to use the Army Corps of Engineers to build it. We knew that a year ago, right? Yeah. Well, the rest of the world is just finding it out now. Still don't believe in Q? Really, I don't know how somebody, when they really examine it, cannot believe in Q. Now, is Q a psyop? Is Q? I don't know. I don't know what the end game is. I don't pretend to know what the end game is. But so far, I like what's happening. I'm not against that. It doesn't conflict with my Christian values yet. And so I support it at this point. All right. Now, the first time Red Castle was used in a Q post was February 14th, 1 year ago to the date. Now, of course, we're looking at the drops from yesterday. So 1 year ago from yesterday. 1 year later, the rest of the world learns that the Army Corps of Engineers will build the wall. The emergency order was signed at 3:14. On January 5th, Q told us to follow the watch, which was set at 3:14. Remember that? And I remember thinking, okay, he's always told us follow the pen. He's never told us follow the watch. That was just January 15th of this, or January 5th of this year that he said that, follow the watch. So let's go down here. And now this is from February 14th, a year ago. I didn't clip the whole thing out. I only clipped the first part of it that had the Red Castle in it. So this is the first time that Red Castle appeared 1 year ago to the date, yesterday, February 14th. You can see this is 2018. And he says, Red Castle, okay. Now, let's come down here. And then there's this. And this is the post from January 5th. And look what he says here. Looky here. No, really, look. This is good stuff. Doesn't get any better than this, guys. All right, so January 5th. And here's the watch. And what time is it set for? 3:14 looks to be. And when was the emergency national emergency thing signed? It was 3:14 on February 14th. Gee, no coincidence there, is there? Wow. Now, how If Q is not associated with POTUS, how on earth did he know the minute and the date that that would be signed? Please tell me that. All these people that doubt Q, please tell me, how is that possible? How? We saw this, a year ago about Red Castle right here. And January 5th, he says, so it was 1 year to the date. Now, look at this watch. Remember when he talked about going to Camp David and he showed the watch and he showed the pen and he always used to say, watch the pen? Didn't. He said, follow the watch. He says, will POTUS be at Camp David tomorrow? And yes, he was going to Camp David the next day after January 5th. And he says 1 year delta in bold in kill brackets. Say what? How did that happen? And then he says matters of national security. Well, isn't that why the emergency was called? Matters of national security. He called a national emergency because our national security is at risk. And he says matters of national security. The clock is ticking. Follow the watch. Q. And the watch has 3:14 here. And the first time Red Castle is mentioned is February 14th, and a year to the date at 3:14, he signs a national emergency for reasons of national security. Can anybody explain that without, you can't explain that by saying, oh, it's just a bunch of BS. It's a LARP, man. Somebody's just in their basement, some teenager that's doing this. Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, they must be psychic. I mean, really psychic. Anyway, let's go on. It's getting interesting, isn't it? I think so. All right, then Q gives a little shout out to the Anons that discovered that, using, of course, Pepe the Frog. Now, I am going to be doing a video about Pepe the Frog. The whole video will be dedicated to Pepe the Frog, what it means, where it came from, and everything. So that will be coming up as soon as I get a little break with all the Q stuff. I've got to get us caught up to the 15th. I've got to get us caught up with Q-related news and then Pepe. So it's coming within the next couple days. And I think you're going to want to see it. But, All right. So this is an Anon. He posts a Pepe with the Q in his eyes and says, winning bigly and how. And I believe this was an Anon that posted this. Yes. So Q is posting this that was posted by an Anon on February 14th. And underneath, Q says, credit to Anons who deciphered Red Green Castle. Why must we communicate this way? Think national security laws. Q. So Q is giving credit to the Anons who figured this out. Q can only communicate via open source intel and or unclassified intel in order to not violate national security laws. So he communicates cryptically, and he points to sources that are even sources of intelligence that are open, that anybody can get to if they know what to look for. But that's the problem. Most of us don't know what to look for and would not have known what to look for. So Q gives us hints cryptically, points us to these sources where there's information just out there that anybody can access. And that is how he communicates with us so as not to violate national security laws. And I think we're all well aware of that by now anyway. And we're going to go on to the next one. Now, going back to the China, the pictures in China and so forth, Q is addressing that. And this Anon says, got eyes on someone in China early today? Thanks, Q, for all and your people, for all you and your people are doing to unite our world. We owe you more than you know. And Q responds and says, we only go public when we want the target to know. Q. So what he's telling us is those pictures were posted. Yeah, we got our eyes on someone in China today. Yes, we do. But we only go public with this when we want them to know. So obviously he wants whoever they are surveilling in China to know that they are under surveillance. He wants them to know. And you know, they'll watch this board. You and I know that quite well. It's not just white hats that are watching this board. Not at all. In fact, I think the whole world is on that board watching, but it seems that way anyway. All right, and let me see. Do I have anything else there? Okay. Q is letting us know the only reason they went public with this intel regarding target or targets in China was because they want the target to know they are being surveyed. This is more or entirely for their benefit than it is ours. Now, future proves past, so I fully expect that sometime in the future we will know exactly who they were watching in China. I believe that. We will know. But at this point, it's not for us to know. Q wants them to know. Look, guys, we're watching. All right, let's go on. And now I've seen this kicking around Twitter, this actual graphic, but let's make, let me see, I think I have a link to a larger, yes, I do. And let's look at a larger picture so that you guys can see it that are on your phones, etc. And yeah, it just lists everybody. James Comey, former FBI, and all of these people have been fired. Andrew McCabe, Josh Campbell, former FBI Special Assistant to Director Comey, James Rybicki, James Baker, John Carlin. And I mean, we know all this, but it's interesting to see it all there in front of you with their pictures and their positions. Bill Priesap, former FBI Director of Counterintelligence, Peter Strzok, Mary McCord, former FBI Acting Assistant Attorney General, Lisa Page, Mike Cortan, Mike Steinbeck, Josh Campbell, David Loftman, Randy Coleman, John Carlin, Sally Yates, John Glassaloni, Mary McCord. Didn't we just see her? Yeah, she's on here twice. And Rachel Brand and Tricia Anderson. So all of these people have been out. They have all been fired or forced out. So let's go back to the notes here. And Q says, memes are important. Mod attached, re, FBI only, re, last drop, re, fired. If nothing criminal, i.e. treason versus duly elected president occurred, why did majority of senior FBI leadership get fired or removed? What do they all have in common? Clinton connection. DOJ later. 2 departures imminent. So what is he saying? Well, first of all, he shows us all the senior leadership of the FBI that has been fired or forced out. And he's saying, how could we do this if there wasn't treason versus, toward treason towards a duly elected president? Then why would we have any grounds to let all these people go, right? And he's right. Don't you think there would have been a massive uprising if these people were just fired because, well, I don't like the way you part your hair, whatever. I don't like your wife. I don't, whatever, stupid things. I mean, it's got to be something major. It's got to be either gross incompetence, negligence, or it's treason. And I think it's both of those things. All right. And all these FBI personnel were loyal to the Clintons and to the deep state swamp. So that is the connection. They were all loyal to the Clintons. They have all been fired and all are guilty of treason. That is what Q is letting us know. Next will come the cleaning out of the DOJ. So that is what's next on the agenda. The FBI has been swept clean, and the DOJ is next. We can assume that many will be fired, but Q is letting us know that 2 departures are imminent. Now, I surmise, and this is just me surmising from other things that Q has written and other things that we know that are happening in the news, that it will be Rosenstein and Mueller. That's who I think those 2 are. So I guess time will tell. But we know he's telling us here, DOJ, that the FBI was cleaned out and the DOJ is coming later, but 2 departures are imminent. All right. Let's go on. I just don't want to make sure I didn't miss anything here. Nope. And let's go on. Now we're coming up to this. All right, and we're still on February 14th. So February 14th was a busy day for Q. And this Anon says, is Sather talking to Washington Post a good thing? What are they talking about? Well, Q responds, and we are going to look at what Q is talking about. Q responds with, well, most importantly, why is the Washington Post leading the attack versus Q? Who owns the Washington Post? Well, we know that the Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos, who also owns Amazon. We also know that Amazon gets a huge amount of funding from the CIA, right? And we also know that the CIA is responsible for the Mockingbird 4 a.m. drops, which obviously the Washington Post benefits from, right? They're given their news at 4 a.m. and they're told what to report, just like all the other mainstream media outlets that are managed and controlled by the deep state. Who targeted the NSA regarding surveillance, expose, prevent pre-Uranium One Iran? So who was it that targeted the NSA with surveillance to prevent Uranium One and Iran deal getting out? Who was that? Well, we're going to look at that. Why are we attacked daily by the largest news companies on the world? Now, as we'll see later, that is a typo. It's not on the world. He meant to say in the world, and he will correct that in one of the next posts. Use caution. High follower count targeting to direct deep in narrative mob as method to remove. And we know all the shadow banning and everything that's going on with Twitter and all the stuff that's going on with Facebook and YouTube, all the platforms. If you've got a lot of followers, I mean really high followers, then they will target you. And I notice even with my YouTube account, it's funny because, you know, I'll steadily be gaining viewers and then all of a sudden they'll just stay there like for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I just don't think that, I think what is happening is as new people join, they drop people off. So, and I say that too as a reminder that make sure that if you want to be subscribed to this channel that you stay subscribed, because they do drop people from it, from the subscriber list. And if you want to be notified of future videos, hit the bell button. So it's good every now and then to check to see if you are still subscribed. And I know it's happened with me. It irritates me to no end when I've subscribed to a channel and all of a sudden I look and I'm not subscribed anymore. It irritates me, but what can I do? All right, Q does not really answer the question about Sather talking to the Washington Post. He redirects. Bezos owns the Washington Post. CIA funds Amazon. Q is attacked because they want to control the narrative and do not want people to question it. Snowden and the CIA targeted the NSA in order to prevent the discovery of Uranium One and Iran deal. Well, didn't work, did it? No, it didn't. Might have, if there'd been no Q. And I clipped this from a web page, or from a web page. I think it's Disclosure Italia, but they really do some really good commenting on the Q posts and very, very well thought out, well written, well thought out, well researched. This person, who is De Oppresso Liber, at Jordan Sather, announced on his YouTube today that Washington Post interviewed him via Skype about Q, anon asking if this is wise or if this is a good thing for the movement. Q warns to be cautious because Washington Post has ulterior motives. Washington Post is owned by Bezos, who reports to CIA. They are targeting Q followers with large following to try and take down their platform or discredit them. At Jordan Sather, intentions are good, but he's taking a major risk. Washington Post ran a hit piece on the NSA pre-Uranium One to discredit and take out the NSA. If they did damage to the NSA, what can they do to Sather? Washington Post will have their crazy Antifa goons and Media Matters focus their ammo on Sather to remove him from YouTube. Q is just giving a friendly warning. And he is. So if you are another QTuber out there, you should be warned as well. Or if you're really active on Twitter and have a lot of followers, be warned that I personally would never, talk to a media outlet that I know is connected to the deep state. I think that that's the worst thing ever. And they're not going to either portray you accurately, fairly, and they're certainly not going to portray what you have to say about Q accurately or fairly, and you're going to end up destroyed. So, yeah, not worth it. Okay, and this person, DNI, on the same website says, sometimes the ego can become a nasty beast to fight with. We are not attacking Sather. We saw the business taking over many people. It's a powerful weapon in the hands of the cabal. We've seen it over and over in the last years within the awakening community. Just saying. And okay, this is just a friendly reminder. And we do have to be cautious about who we follow, because not everyone that is a so-called QTuber is really for Q. Some of them are disinfo agents, and some of them are spreading just bad info. I can think about one person who lied about the notebook, and I don't trust this person. I don't trust anything they come out with. And people will continually comment, well, what about this? What about this? And I don't really say anything because, all that stuff about George Soros being arrested, all that about the Clintons being dead. Yeah, that's all fake. It's put out there on purpose by by people that know that it's not true. Okay? It's being put out there. They get a whole lot of clicks, and but they're giving disinformation. Now, why are they giving that disinformation? Well, they want to be able to point. See, now Q has come out and said the Clintons, they're alive. They're alive. That person was lying. Why? Because now mainstream can point to people like that and say, oh, look, these people, all these Q people were saying that the Clintons are dead. All these people were saying that, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is dead. And Q has come out today and said she is not. So, and I was one of those that thought I really, really, really believed she was dead. Now, I didn't say, oh, I know she's dead. And no, I don't think anybody did that. But I thought for sure she was no longer with us, but she is, and so are the Clintons. And so we have to be careful about who we listen to, because there are some people that are putting this stuff out there so that you will grab onto it and run with it, spread it to other people, and then they can point to Q and say, oh, this is ridiculous. These are the same people that said the Clintons were dead. See what I'm saying? All right. So that is what Q is warning us about. Now, let's go on. Let me make sure that I've got everything here that I was supposed to get. Yes. All right. And we're moving along here. Now, and remember when I mentioned about the spelling mistake, here is Q letting us know. He is giving us, he's referring to his post from earlier, and he's saying spelling error by mistake on the move. Q. So he's letting us know that he didn't mean largest news companies on the world, he meant in the world, and it's just a spelling mistake because he's on the move and he's probably texting on a phone, and well, you know how it is, we all know how that is. So on instead of in, Q lets us know that this is just an error and not to read any additional information into it. So let's see, now it's 6:18 and we are coming to a point where, let me see how many posts from the 14th we still have and whether I should split this video into two for the 14th, because I don't want this to go over an hour. Let me see how much we have left. Quite a bit. We have quite a bit here. All right. You know what? Okay, yeah, we have quite a bit to follow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this into two, and I will work on the second one immediately while this is uploading, and I will get that uploaded very, very shortly. So I don't want this to run too long. It's very wearying for some people to listen to a video that long, and so let me see here. Let me get back down to where I was. Okay, and you know, please do come back because there's a lot of information in the second part that we need to get to, and it's important. All right, now I'm going to stop there and I will get this uploaded, and you can probably, by the time you watch this, there'll be another one to watch. I'm also going to do the 15th, but it probably won't be until a little later tonight because I do have to run a few errands while the stores are still open, and I will come back and I will do the 15th later. I've already got it all researched, so it's not a big deal for me to sit down and record it. All right, that's it for now. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, you guys that have donated coffee and Patreon, and thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I just hope that you come back, and I'll see you a bit later. Have a good evening. Stay safe, stay well.